relatively lengthy and involved detailed community review process for the proposed Lincoln Yards development by Sterling Bank. This is the kickoff. This is where it becomes real. Despite some of the rumors that you may have heard or some of the leaks in the media, none of that really matters at this moment forward. What matters at this moment forward is what you're about to see tonight and what you think about what you're about to see tonight. Your comments, your input, your feedback. This process is going to take as long as it's going to take. We have no deadline, we have no ticking clock. We have a very engaged, very concerned community that recognizes what's at stake here and wants to see something that benefits the entire city and does not have a negative, adverse impact on the neighborhood that we're all proud to call home. That's a very difficult task, but I think we're up for it. I'm encouraged by the turnout that we have tonight. And I would like to thank my partners who has helped fill this room tonight. We compiled a community advisory committee a number of weeks ago that comprises stakeholders and organizations that have credibility, that have respect, that have been involved in this very type of activity for many, many years, in some cases decades. The only difference about this one today is the scope and the magnitude. But the organizations that I'm working with to vet this process have been doing this for a long time. They have expertise, they have skill, they have knowledge, and they've been extraordinarily helpful so far, and I want to start by acknowledging them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to name them, and I'm going to ask anyone here tonight who's a member of the organization to please stand and be recognized, and we'll get a feel for who's here and where they're from. And I'm going to start with my own neighborhood association in the neighborhood that I live in now, Sheffield Neighborhood Association. If you're here from Sheffield Neighborhood Association, please stand and be recognized. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next is Bucktown Community Association. Bucktown members of Bucktown Community Association. The Wicker Park Committee, pretty much our host neighborhood for tonight. Thank you. A little bit farther away, but still relevant, the Lincoln Central Association, who's here from Bell State tonight. Ranch Triangle, who's here from Ranch Triangle, they're always well represented in these meetings. Wrightwood Neighborhood Association, I see Alderman sitting in the front row. Friends of the River, who is here from Friends of the River? Outstanding organization that does a lot of great advocacy work and has really made a difference in the last 10 years or so. And also Friends of the Parks, from Treasure Distance. So a big thanks to everyone. Thank you very much for your role in what we've accomplished up until now, just to bring attention to a process that, as I said, is going to take some time. So I don't want anyone to get the feeling that this is the only opportunity they'll have to comment, to review what they're seeing. As a matter of fact, we will have at least one, more than likely multiple meetings just like this meeting here tonight. In addition, we'll have smaller meetings with all of the neighborhood associations and organizations that I just mentioned. We'll be having smaller group discussions to vet this proposal with their members. If you're not a member of one of those associations and you live in an area that's covered by that association, I would encourage you to join. It's a good thing to be a part of your neighborhood association, not just for purposes of deciding whether Lincoln Yards should be approved or not, but for all of the different types of quality of life issues that impact our neighborhood. I encourage your participation. If you're not a member of those associations and you choose not to be, you still have ample opportunity to participate in this process as an individual. My office will be reaching out to community leaders all over the area. We'll be having our own series of smaller group breakout sessions. Again, the whole opportunity to participate, to comment, and to provide feedback will be extensive. And if you really have something to say, we want to hear what you have to say, and we're going to have multiple channels for you to do that. Starting tomorrow, if you go to my website, aldermanhopkins.com, there will be a survey. We encourage you to visit that, comment on what you see tonight. The entire presentation that you see tonight will be available on that website for your review. So if one of the slides skips through kind of fast and you had a question about it and you didn't see the detail, you can go back and review the entire presentation. We're also being broadcast right now on Facebook Live. The survey will be open for approximately 2 weeks. After the survey is completed, the comments, the results will be compiled, and they will also be publicized. I'm sure the media will cover the results of the survey in addition to being documented on my website. I want to talk just very briefly about something that really isn't on the agenda tonight, but obviously it has some relevance. The North Branch Framework Plan, the study area for the North Branch Framework Plan is approximately 760 acres. Tonight we're only talking about a little bit less than 60 acres within that larger study area, but it's relevant for a couple of reasons. First of all, the 760 acres that I refer to include much more than just the second ward. So you'll notice when I went through all those community organizations and asked people to stand up and identify where you're from, I'm not asking you to tell me what ward you're from. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm accountable to the second ward residents and their voters, and I understand that. But this issue that we have before us tonight is so much more important than just anything that I would subdivide by ward boundaries. It spills over ward boundaries. It's really a citywide issue. And the North Branch Framework Plan area encompasses many other wards besides my own. So whether you're a 2nd Ward resident, a 43rd Ward resident, 27th Ward resident, 32nd Ward resident, it really doesn't matter. Your opinion is just as valid, and your stake in this process is every bit as significant as the people that I happen to live in the same ward. So there's no discrimination by ward geography. It really doesn't matter to me where you're from. What matters to me is that you care enough about the future of your neighborhood and about the future of the city to give up an evening and come to a community meeting like this. The other reason why the North Branch Framework Plan is relevant tonight is that even though the Lincoln Yards footprint, those 60 acres that I refer to, do not include the current site of General Iron and do not include the proposed site for the North Branch Park and Preserve that I'm proud to support along with my colleagues Alderman Smith and Alderman Wagasback, it's just across the river. So we're not directly discussing it tonight because it's not part of this plan development, but it's close enough that I felt it was worthy to at least acknowledge it and to talk about the advocacy effort that has led to that proposal being before us. I would encourage all the groups that have worked so hard on this. I know you're capable of balancing multiple priorities. I know you're capable of opening up a battle on 2 fronts, as it were. So there's actually 2 separate things that we have to focus on when it comes to the need for open space and recreational space. There's what's before us today, and you're going to see some of that. You're going to see some green on the map for the Lincoln Yards proposal. And eventually, we are going to be talking about zoning changes and redevelopment on the other side of the river. So for today, let's focus on what we have before us, which is maximizing the green space, maximizing the open space within the 60 acres of Lincoln Yards itself, keeping in mind that the next step in this process will be across the river, where we have work to do to find funding and to find additional political support besides the 3 aldermen that have currently signed on to make that North Branch Park and Preserve a reality. That's as important as it is for anything you're going to see tonight, but it's the next step in this process. And this will be a lengthy process, as I said. You'll notice where it says dates to be announced. This process will take as long as this process takes. I have no time frame. I certainly don't feel that we need to delay this needlessly. Ultimately, this will get to a vote before the Plan Commission. This will get to a vote before the Zoning Committee. This will get to a vote before the Chicago City Council. I don't think it serves anyone's interest to put something forward that simply does not have the political support to pass, so what would be the point of that? So we are going to seek consensus, we are going to seek support, and if we get to that point where there's sufficient support for a proposal, similar to the one that you might see tonight, dramatically different, we don't know, that's what the process is for, then and only then will this matter be put to a vote before the Chicago City Council. If any of that sounds like a done deal to you, I should probably repeat myself, because it's as far from a done deal as you possibly can get. This is a completely undetermined process as we begin here today at the starting line on square one. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. Probably no one in this room does either. Certainly the developers, I think, have an idea what they hope it will be, but there's no guarantees, no promises have been made. This is a community process. You are the community. It's as much up to you as it is to me or anyone else in this room. So, with that in mind, I will turn it over to the principals of Sterling Bay, who will make their presentation. I would encourage everyone to be respectful, be civil, allow them to make their presentation, allow them to put forth their ideas, even if it's something that you immediately don't agree with. Give them the courtesy to be able to present what they're doing. After they go through their slides, we will be having breakout sessions. There will be 5 different stations throughout this room. Each one will have a different topic presented to it. Open space and recreational space, environmental issues, economic development, density, all those things will be covered by consultants and experts from their team. They're available to answer your questions, they're available to hear your feedback, they're available to have a dialogue with you. So you can go to all 5 stations, or you can just go to one and stay there, whatever you feel that you're most drawn to. But you'll have ample opportunity for the kind of open dialogue and discussion that typically isn't afforded to a room full of 500 people. So with that, So with that in mind, I will now introduce from Sterling Bay, Mr. Andy Blow.
Thank you, Alderman. My name is Andy Blow, the Managing Principal of Sterling Bay. I'd like to thank the Alderman for arranging the meeting, and I also want to thank Mayor Montessori for giving us the space. Looks like we're probably going to use a little more space here tonight. Everyone in Sterling Bay has been working really hard for the last 3 years on this project. We've assembled literally hundreds of consultants who have put thousands of hours in drilling into each and every aspect of this deal. This deal is personal for us. This deal is personal because it's our home. I lived in Lincoln Park for 25 years, lived on Sedgwick, used to live over Black Duck, they live on Dayton, now I'm on Fremont. I've been on Fremont for the last 16 years. So this is not a developer who's parachuting in and returning to New York or whatever. We're going to wake up tomorrow, we're going to wake up 10 years from now, and this will still be my home. So I hope it comes through in the presentation. This is not just about business. This is something we're trying to create a better environment for all of us here, whether you live in Wicker Park or Bucktown. And we have partners who live in Wicker Park and Bucktown on every aspect of this deal. So very rarely do you get an opportunity to have a blank slate. A lot of times when you have a piece of land like this, you're pioneering in a different location. This is very unique. I mean, this land has been artificially protected since 1988 by Mayor Daley with PME zoning. It was a great idea at the time. The time has come and gone, and now it's, it gives us a chance to rethink what we're doing with this site, how we're laying it out, and the opportunities in front of us. I get the issues, and I've driven the same streets, I've been stuck in the same traffic. I've driven to Wheaton for my son to play a lacrosse game against another team from Chicago playing lacrosse. Very frustrating. And I would like a field that I can walk to as well, and we've addressed that. We do have a lot of recreational fields and a lot of open space. So to kick things off, what I want to do is we have a short video. It's a few-minute video, and then I'm going to hand it over to one of my colleagues, Aaron, who's going to drill down in a lot of the details of the presentation. So thank you for your time. As Brian mentioned, this is the beginning of a process, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you very much.
From the beginning, we have been drawn to this incredible location between 2 of Chicago's most iconic neighborhoods, hugging the river's North Branch, forged by a unique history of American industry. We want to create something truly special that weaves together east to west, north to south.
We are inspired by the world's best places and Chicago's best neighborhoods. Active, vibrant streets, wide, pedestrian-scale sidewalks, welcoming green spaces.
We have engaged the best and brightest designers, helping us make this concept a reality.
Together,
we imagine a vision we call Lincoln Yards.
This vision aligns with the city's North Branch framework. Lincoln Yards will be a catalyst for thousands of jobs, and we plan to go further. Lincoln Yards will be an inclusive destination featuring many small businesses, restaurants, and hotels.
In order to prepare for the future, we need to fix the challenges we have today. We fully support CDOT's ongoing review of area, road, and infrastructure improvements. And we're planning for the city's new transit way, Metro's renovation of the existing Clybourne style, and other improvements called for in the framework. And we plan to go further. We're excited about the extension of the 606, going under the Kennedy and crossing the river. We're aiming to extend the river walk as well, making it accessible to everyone, with lots of activities, including boating, walking, and cycling. We're envisioning new bridges to reconnect the fabric of the city across the river. And we envision a new metro station as an accessible multimodal hub, improving connections and integrating access to multiple CTA bus routes and rail routes, the neighborhood shuttle, the 606, and the water taxi.
We've begun remediation efforts to address the effects of nearly 100 years of industrial manufacturing along the river, and we plan to go further. We are transforming brownfields into green space, and we are adding natural systems to the river that will improve water quality and provide better habitats for fish and wildlife. We're exploring cutting-edge systems that utilize Illinois-based renewable energy sources like wind and solar to create the most sustainable project possible. We anticipate receiving LEED certification for the entire project.
We will be adding acres of new, publicly accessible green spaces throughout Lincoln Yards, going well beyond what the framework requires. There will be new recreational sports fields and riverfront parks. We're also featuring public art throughout Lincoln Yards, including sculpture, murals, and other installations. And we plan to go further. In the south area of Lincoln Yards, we're planning a new arts and entertainment district. We're bringing multiple venues for different scales of music, dance, and theater. And at the center will be an iconic riverfront stadium featuring soccer and events.
This neighborhood is our home too. Dozens of our team and their families live within 2 miles of Lincoln Yards.
We're excited to be a part of this community. We have plans to organize charity benefits and public events, and bring new cultural facilities to this neighborhood, just like we've done in other communities.
Lincoln Yards is a defining moment for our city. This project will knit together this site with countless connections to new economic opportunities, new transportation options, new environmental benefits for everyone to enjoy.
We're excited to present Lincoln Yards, where Chicago connects.
To Alderman Hopkins. We're also joined today by representatives of CDOT and Department of Planning and Development who've been kind enough to counsel us over time. Huge thanks to all the organizations that Alderman Hopkins mentioned who provided us with counsel, albeit preliminaries. We are now about to begin this process. We're really excited, and I do want to reiterate what the Alderman, what Andy mentioned. This is just the beginning, and we're thrilled to be here today because we've been working really, really hard to get to this point, and we're excited to unveil our vision for what Lincoln Yards can be. While I may not be as jazzy as the video, I get the job of sharing some of the boring but important details. Hopefully that will transcend some of what you've heard in the media, that this will be an absolutely amazing place to live, to work, and to play. We're seeking your collective input. As the Alderman had mentioned, we have a number of subject matter experts here, and I'll introduce the team in just a moment. But as we break up, we're going to have 5 different sessions where people can take input, commentary, criticism, what have you. We want to hear it all. We, too, will be posting on our website not only this video, but the presentation deck that I'm about to give, so that you don't need to take pictures, take notes. All of this will be available. If you take pictures, it adds 10 pounds, so just be kind. At the end of this, know that this is just the beginning. We plan to do more, to be your neighbors, to be part of this process, and to be very interactive. So if you do think of additional questions as you move beyond tonight, we've established a number of different website opportunities and places to connect. www.lincolnyards.com is our website on which all of this will be posted, as well as on the Alderman's website, as mentioned. If you have a question, a concern, a comment about the development, we would ask that you email us as well so that we can collect and consolidate these comments and make sure that we are responsive. And that website is info@lincolnyards.com. If you're an individual seeking work or a business owner seeking participation on this project, we've set up a separate email as well. That's entitled businessdiversity@sterlingbay.com. So we truly encourage you. We want to be responsible developers. We work very closely in making sure that local and diverse businesses are engaged in each level of our process. So with that, I'm excited to really unveil much of our team. It's been a joy and a pleasure working with these professionals. They are truly remarkable folks. The team itself is anchored by CBT and Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. In early 2017, we hosted a competition. In fact, we invited 10 of the best master planners, all familiar and expert with waterfront redevelopment. It was an exceedingly just invigorating process because we called for ideas, we called for innovation, we called for a new vision in terms of how to interpret. We shortlisted to 3, and ultimately we couldn't choose. So we asked both CBT, who's out of Boston, famous for their waterfront development in South Boston, and Fan Pier, and many, many other developments, to join hands with our hometown, but also internationally renowned Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. And it has been fruitful and remarkable to see the level of expertise, level of professionalism, but truly remarkable plans and diagrams that are going to be welcoming, green, verdant, porous, and a development that you're going to be attracted to and want to be a part of. What is it now? It's not so attractive. It's environmentally impacted soil, so we also brought on board V3, who happens to be our environmental engineer and also a renowned civil engineer. And I will share with you some of the statistics of how we've taken a number of these areas of impacted soil and what we hope to turn trash to treasure. We've also joined our team because of the amazing amount of traffic congestion. And this is not amazing in a good way. This is the remarkable traffic congestion in the neighborhood. It warranted really the most expert in traffic engineers, so much so that we brought on 3 different traffic engineers. So we've brought on KLOA, our local firm, who's done all the major local developments, large and small. They also participated very heavily in the Fullerton, Damon, Elston reroute, which has been and met with tremendous benefit. As you may be aware, between 70 and 80% reduction in travel times alone. Kimley Horn as peer reviewer and local engineer for traffic as well. And Nelson Nygaard, a national firm with national transportation demand management expertise locked by vehicular traffic. And then very proud to announce that we've recently secured the services of James Corner Field Operations, famous for their wonderful work at the High Line in New York, but also work that recently was completed at Navy Pier. But throughout the nation, the quality level and the history and story that's woven into each of their designs is what we are really excited to embark on this journey with them. There are a lot of infrastructure improvements, as you can imagine. We are in an area of the city, as Andy had mentioned, has been a PMD since 1989, but before that, 100 years of industry has caused this area to be, frankly, neglected from an infrastructure standpoint. And so we've engaged Collins, who's our Riverwall engineer. There are many, many lineal feet of Riverwall. HBK, because of the need for new utilities and rerouting of some existing utilities. We've brought on DLA Piper as our zoning attorney, as well as HRNA for our economic impact projections. So we think we've assembled the best and the brightest. We're going to continue to grow our teams as we exercise and look at new options and seek your input and reflect that input in our coming project. What I'd like to do quickly is to orient you to the site. You're probably all exceedingly familiar with it, but certainly it helps to see it in context as a bird might fly over it. First, from a plan standpoint, as the Alderman had mentioned, of the 760 acres within the North Branch framework, we represent, and our plan development application represents just shy of 53 acres alone. But we think that we are putting a lot of the components in place that were required of the North Branch framework itself. You know, she's a beauty. This is a great view, actually, looking south to the skyline. But if you look over and beyond the current state of the site, it is a site that people typically go through without thinking too much about. It's a site that has tremendous opportunity. It's a site that flanks both sides of the river. So you're looking south and both on the east and west sides of the river from an orientation standpoint. Here in the very, very foreground is the Portland Historic Bridge, and in the background, obviously, is the skyline. This is a view looking north from the river. So the former Finkel operation to the south, where the river bends south and east and then south again. The former Lake and Tire Recycling Company. And on the left side, photograph west, is the former Sims Metal Manufacturing location. And this view, looking due west, is of the city's former fleet facility, salt pile, and all masonry, all of which we've assembled to help us define what we're terming Lincoln Yards South. So we've assembled these acreages. We've planned for plan development applications, 2 in total, 2 because of separate joint ventures and land ownership structures. But Lincoln Yards North represents just over 29 acres, and Lincoln Yards South just under 24 acres. So you can see how it's demarcated between the darker blue to the north, which hugs the river on both sides, and all of Lincoln Yards South, which is entirely south of the river. You know, this is an interesting area. It has a fair amount of community assets bound by vibrant, dynamic, and engaging areas. You know, Lincoln Park and Bucktown and Wicker Park are relatively well amenitized, but it's a divided area. Divided by interstate, by train lines, by former industrial corridor. And this division is really the root of the problem in providing access and mobility, both north to south and east to west. This is a huge challenge for us and for anybody who develops in the North Branch and anybody who lives here today. It's coupled by aging infrastructure, which is truly dark and not welcoming, and places that may cause fear and to travel from Wicker Park and Bucktown to the east and back west. The momentum and beauty that's been established by the 606 is something that we intend, and we've announced our intention to support the development and extension of that 606. But we have a lot of challenges in the infrastructure that you see in front of you that we have to get through. So, we put together our site development goals. I'm not pleading the fifth, if somebody could turn on those lights real quick. The site development goals that we've established really begin to build upon, and certainly we applaud the city and what they've done to initiate and to open up this area for non-industrial development. Why is that important? These goals, 1, 2, and 3, as you can imagine, and as the Alderman had already stated, are about job creation, better access to transportation, better mobility, and open space and access to the river. These are 3 fantastic points that we applaud the city in developing as part of their North Branch framework. But without goal 1, there is no goal 2 or goal 3. It's the revenue generated as a result of this economic engine that will help us afford all these wonderful amenities and opportunities for expansion and improvement to this entire region in the North Branch. So we're excited. As such, we took those 3 points and expanded them into R8. We went on a listening tour to talk to neighbors and stakeholders and community groups convened by the Alderman and we heard a little bit more. So we've taken our hopes and dreams and desires and initiated some project goals that we've conveyed to our design teams and that we want to see implemented. Obviously, healthy environment, and you'll see a little bit more about the environmental remediation that we've begun to undertake. But a healthy environment, you can clean it, but it has to be the foundation for wellness. We want to see open space, a place for people to run, a place for people to be active parts of the community. This is an economic catalyst. It's a job creator. We hope that businesses move in and are part of the fabric of this community that is intended to be live, work, and play. Public open space. Public open space is vital. It's important to any development. You don't want a single-purpose development because after 5 p.m., if it's commercial office, there are tumbleweeds through. It's not safe. It's not welcoming. It's certainly not open. Community connections are really important as a goal for us. What the interstate system did was fantastic for traveling from Wisconsin to Ohio, but has really divided Wicker Park and Bucktown from Lincoln Park and vice versa. And so we hope to stitch together what that, coupled with the Union Pacific train lines and viaducts, have begun to divide. Additionally, the industrial manufacturing uses that were historically along the river have really kept people from enjoying and activating the riverfront. That is a trend that we tend to reverse. Heritage. We at Sterling Bay are great fans of cultivating, or rather capturing, artifacts and wonderful pieces that are emblematic of a place. Finkel Steel has a wonderful amount of interesting artifacts, artwork, gateways. We routinely are asked by folks, you know, please don't take that down, please don't do that, please save it. We intend to save and honor a lot of these points of heritage. We love the historic bridges, we love all the different components that are really emblematic of the history of this place and can anchor the future of the development itself. We want to be responsive to you as our neighbors. We want to be your neighbors and good neighbors at that. And so we are cognizant of scale and size. Our intention is to keep low density by the river and bring that density higher, further away, so that everybody has views and access both visually and physically to the river itself. It's one of our best assets. And how do we do that? How do we keep safety and as an economic engine? It's through a thriving community. So thriving to us is multi-purpose. It is live, work, and play. So what do? We challenged our design team. And in doing so, they've developed for us several principles, design principles and some inspiration images that I'll run through very quickly. But they are the images that have begun to inspire us and allow us to dream further. Connected neighborhoods, again. Access and mobility is critical. The principles of inclusivity and being welcoming. We don't want a them and us environment. We want a porous, welcoming place to be. We anticipate to activate and we plan to make these streets vibrant. Vibrancy is the root of safety and life. These spaces need to be integrated and open. And we want to engage the river. It is a critical aspect. Additionally, it needs to be scaled for the pedestrian and reflecting the heritage that is so rich within both the Fleet facility and Finkel Steel. So for us, it's rooted in the economic benefit and impact, the second goal that allows all of this to be unlocked, the potential of this place to be realized. So we need to maintain this area as an important economic engine and bring businesses and bring revenue. So for us, in the framework, we are limited to no more than 50% residential, the rest of which will be comprised of commercial office, hotel, and residential space. We plan to bring on between 4,000 and 5,000 residential units over that 10-year cycle, which is anticipated to bring between 300 and 375 school-aged children. In addition, the job creation associated with the commercial office would generate 23,000 on-site jobs and an additional 10,000 indirect or induced jobs. You'll also see construction jobs increase as a result, and we're estimating about 2,500 per annum over that 10-year cycle. The economic impact is staggering. What we're very excited by is the projection that HRNA has put forth and has shared with us that the economic impact holistically is $4.2 billion as an engine. And the new fiscal revenue to the city of Chicago alone will top $73 million. That's not to say that is the full value to the city. There will be necessary city services, trash collection, etc. And so we anticipate the spend of city services being around $35 million. As such, the net benefit to the city for this development is just over $38 million a year. The structure of the North Branch framework allows for developers such as ourselves to bonus from the underlying 3.0 floor area ratio, or FAR, up to a 6.5 value. And so with the plans that we have in place, which are to bonus up to 6.5 on Lincoln Yards North and Lincoln Yards South with a density of about 4.0, we anticipate a contribution to the City of Chicago's fund valued at over $60 million. In addition to that, within the North Branch framework, there is a provision that requires a transfer fee from industrial to non-industrial uses, in which we'll pay just over $28 million. That's all great funding and great need because it will help fund some of the infrastructure and open space that are outlined as the second and third goals. Mobility, transportation, and infrastructure. That goal number 2 that's outlined within the framework is remarkable. It is something so necessary and frankly so not addressed in the last 25 and greater years that it is something that we've spent a great deal of time discussing and designing around. The reality is that Lincoln Yards itself is relatively well served by area transportation, but we would like to see more. So from an aspirational standpoint, we want to see 3 new water taxi stations. We plan also, we've been in conversations, to extend the 606 beneath the expressway, as you'll see in this image, adding a skate park and adding a climbing wall. This is rooted in safety, vibrancy, activity, rather than the dark pictures that are, frankly, not even ADA accessible of the current metro station itself. This is rooted in the concept and need identified for a new metro station, what we've termed our multimodal center or exchange, that connects 7 different modes of transportation: by boat, by bus, by pedestrian, by bike, by shuttle, by metro, and by the city's announced transit way. In addition to that, we have been working very closely with our partners at CDOT to identify, and Sterling Bay is funding not only traffic studies, but we're funding the engineering design solutions to replicate the success of the newly realigned Elston, Damon, and Fullerton improvement that, as I mentioned, decreased travel time between 70 and 80%. This is very important to us. It's not within our plan development, but it is something that we're so dedicated to that we have funded these engineering studies and solutions. But getting into the proposal at hand, our 53 acres alone, we have a site that is divided, it's bifurcated, it's got choppy roadways, and it does not promote north-south or east-west traffic. We're limited in how people can access through and beyond our space. And as such, we propose to vacate a handful of streets, smaller segments, and then dedicate new streets to make way for better street alignments that will allow people to go north to south and east to west more cleanly. Even further, we plan to dedicate some of our own property, over 3.5 acres, to new roadways. We're going to be resurfacing an additional mile of existing roadway as well. A lot of the roadway's been neglected over time, has not been improved, and so we want to bring through these thoroughfares, these splines that allow people faster, better access from place to place. What you see highlighted in orange is an extended Dominic. Many of you may be familiar with our new headquarters development that we brought online and will be opening August 1st for C.H. Robinson at Webster and the River. That Dominic Street that flanks it to the east of the river will be extended in the form of a bridge that crosses and then connects to Troop and down to North Avenue as well. this will be a major improvement in roadway. In addition to that, we are supporting the opening of the closed portion of Kingsbury and want to see that connected north and through to Southport. We believe this will be a corollary, this will be an artery that will help mitigate the congestion that Clybourne sees right now. And in our dream of dreams, this is an idea that the community group, Alan Ellis in particular, had shared with us at one of our last discussions, is to allow that extended Kingsbury up and over. We're planning for the ultimate realignment with an Armitage Bridge, ideally. This spline that we've created on Dominic itself is a spline that becomes an organizing mechanism for our development. We've aligned different character zones, different experience opportunities, flanking Dominic itself. We believe that Dominic is the appropriate alignment for a commercial district. Further south with Sims and the peninsula would be a great mixed-use environment that on the east side would be anchored by 13.5 nearly acres of open space, parks, plazas, and river walks. Additionally, we anticipate on Lincoln Yards North residential zone with, on Kingsbury as well. And as we travel further south along Dominic, the Arts and Entertainment District will be rooted with a 20,000-seat soccer arena as well as opportunities for hospitality and retail. The parks and open space, the 13.5 acres roughly, will be connected by Dominic, bridged by Dominic, but they will interlace and weave together all the different areas. Because it flanks Portland, because it flanks the river, and is so substantial in nature, it'll be the kind of green space that will welcome folks. We've all too often seen courtyard buildings or suburban developments that are inward looking. The display of Dominic in the park itself as a triangle or a wedge is what we were so taken with in CBT's design proposal that really spoke to us in the format of it being welcoming, opening, and porous. Proposed infrastructure improvements. These are many. We believe that the area obviously needs improved roadways, the 3 water taxis, the 606 extension, skate park, and climbing wall that we mentioned. But we believe strongly in short-term improvements to lighting, painting, and making feel more safe the existing metro station. The long-term solution of a relocated metro station is something that we are very heavily invested in and believe is right for the community. Additionally to that, as I mentioned, we are funding engineering proposals for congestion mitigation in Ashland, Elston, and Armitage. We're going to dedicate more than 4,000 feet of new roadway, 6,200 plus parking spaces, in addition to shuttles to CTA stations, enhanced CTA infrastructure in our roadways. In addition to that, we are going to be integrating the city's announced transitway plan, and obviously bringing on new roads and bridges for bikes and transit across the river. We have identified more than 53 different areas of improvement that really are required beyond what is happening today. This area has been long neglected in terms of infrastructure. Next, I wanted to share with you a bit about environmental remediation that we've taken on and completed a portion of, but there's more to do, and we believe in more. We want to be your neighbors and be environmentally responsible, and even beyond that. So we've taken our first steps. As a voluntary movement, we've enrolled our sites into the state of Illinois Environmental Protection Agency voluntarily as a cleanup program. That program is called the Site Remediation Program. It's basically the sign of good housekeeping that you receive from the state of Illinois once you clean it up. You can clean up through the SRP program to varying levels. We are taking the most restrictive approach and cleaning it up to residential standards. That voluntary enrollment has already taken hold in the format of 13,000 tons of environmentally impacted soil that we've removed, with an additional 12,000 we have yet to go, and this is just on Lincoln Yards North alone. We've removed 7 tons of hazardous waste from this site. We've taken out 200 cubic yards of hazardous lead, and 27 underground storage tanks. So you can imagine the level and expense and care and effort that is going into making this a healthy environment before we even dream of LEED certification and green open parkways. But we do plan to do more. We plan to be LEED certified. We plan to use Illinois-based renewable energy. We plan to be the most energy efficient development in the nation. We are even investigating and have gone so far as to look into geothermal systems. We're investigating river water cooling. We want to lower our carbon footprint through sustainable design of our buildings themselves. Beyond that, there is benefit. Once we've cleaned up this site and we're making it green, we want the open space to be welcoming and environmentally sustainable. We want to be good stewards to the environment, not just from an economic standpoint, but from an environmental standpoint. So open space and public benefit are a huge component of that. As I've already mentioned, we have about 53 acres of land, and we are looking at the way in which the stacking and density has been advised within the North Branch framework itself. The city guidelines recommend that large open spaces dictate a larger density and higher height of the buildings, but we want to go further. We want the open space, but we want it to be carefully curated in a way that's low to the river, offering access, both physical and visual access to the river, and allowing those open spaces to hug the river and encourage people to join it. We are proposing development that has average heights of around 300 feet, a park of more, an open space of more than 13, close to 13 and a half acres. But some of our buildings will be staggered. They'll be as small as 25 feet tall and as tall in certain icon buildings as 700 to 800 feet tall. In addition to that, we've established a plan that is a green belt that will connect from north to south, flanking the river, flanking it east to west, and bringing together the green space that we plan. We believe that the soccer field itself can be made available on off-game days, and with the cooperation of the music venue, which will be a green roof and an accessible roof, we have additional access to open space as well. We envision great space within, and this will be the detail for Lincoln Yards North, wonderful space anchored by farmers markets, walkable streets, making sure that there's programmed and unprogrammed space. Lots of green and open space that can be self-directed. Lots of views and opportunities for retail, sidewalk cafes, and engagement. We envision great big open space within the Central Park area. Depicted on the left is a large mound where we anticipate programming movies in the park. On the right is an active but fenced-in dog park. We anticipate that these spaces, and we plan to program these spaces in a way that is not just summer-based. We plan for seasonality in everything that we're establishing. We want to make sure that people are active and open as part of every season of the year, since our summers get to be so short. We look at different active spaces and different demographics, dog owners, people with children. One of the things that we were asked to make sure that we anticipated in one of our community meetings was making sure there are tot lots and engagement areas and ways in which people with children can engage in Lincoln Yards. We also, and this is a view looking north, want to make sure it's an opportunity for people to engage in ways that can weave in some of the open space to some of the activities and some of the retail itself. And we believe very strongly in approaching the river in a way that's lower scale, but has the ability for wider than required river walk space. As you may know, the ordinance requires about 30 feet, but we plan to do more. We want active and engaged waterfront. We want people to find it accessible. On Lincoln Yards South, the development is obviously anchored by a 20,000-seat soccer field. That will be a remarkable place to host events, to engage the community, to let Andy's son's lacrosse team play from time to time, to get to a point where we can engage in open space through a shared use agreement. In addition, we plan for a lower scale arts and entertainment district that is anchored by a music venue that will offer arts offerings, theater offerings, ballet, and others, as well as the opportunities that will make this a district that we are excited to participate in. We're also excited for the seasonality here. We plan to program with ice rinks in the winter and different activities that will keep it vibrant and alive during all seasons. And we plan for recreational fields that offer, unlike the north side, which is more self-directed open space, the south side of Lincoln Yard South, rather, this recreational space can be programmed by the Park District with soccer teams, with baseball teams, and we look forward to working more closely with the Park District in terms of programming spaces that will offer program recreational opportunities. We're excited, and the numbers speak for it. We're excited because the way things add up, we've been able to attribute, as I mentioned, over 3.5 acres to additional right-of-way to mitigate traffic congestion through our site. In addition to that, almost 13.5 acres of parks, plazas, and Riverwalk. That alone represents 1/4 of our property. If we take into account both the open space and the additional right-of-way, that's 32% of the held property for dedicated public benefit. In addition to that, we do envision shared utilization of the stadium and of the music venue roof deck, which will be approachable and walkable in a way that will be highly accessible. And an additional 3.7 acres, bringing the sum total of public benefit area to nearly 40% of land holdings, or 20.75% acres rather. So before we break for our subject matter expert stations, can I finish here? Okay. I'm going to reiterate some of the numbers that I've presented throughout, but I certainly hope to share with you. $4.2 billion in economic output, 23,000 on-site jobs, more than a mile of improved existing roadway, 1,300 feet of extension of the 606 in both bridge across the river and land. We have over $60 million in corridor bonus payment. We anticipate residential units between 4,000 and 5,000, 4,000 feet of new roadway, 3 new water taxis, $28 million in contribution for industrial corridor, over 13 acres of new public open space, a mile of new Riverwalk, and 7 mobility systems connected through our multimodal system. We're excited to learn more about your hopes and desires and dreams. We're anxious to do this in a way that is collaborative and where the loud voices do not drown out those who might be too shy and reticent to share. So we are going to break now into our subject matter expert stations, and then we will take your questions. But remember, the website is below, and we are anxious to get your input. Thank you very much.